Hello there ladies and gentlemen, TX141 here, also known as Paul, bringing you another Ace in the Day gameplay for the arcade mode of War Thunder. In today's instalment I shall be reviewing the I-185 M-82. To give you a small historical overview on the Politkopov I-185 and the variant you see here in War Thunder, the I-185 was the spiritual successor to the Politkopov I-16. A redesign of the failed I-180 project, the I-185 was to feature a monocoque fuselage design and a two-spar all-metallic wing structure. The plane was to originally feature, as of the design in the early half of 1940, a Tomansky M90 2000 horsepower engine. However, test flights as the middle of 1940 showed that the engine was significantly underpowered, not living up to the expectation of 2000 horsepower. As a result, a secondary design had to be completed over the second half of 1940, featuring the Shvetsov M81 engine. A radial engine providing 1,200 horsepower, the initial test flight as of January the 11th, 1941, actually failed to get off the ground due to the underpowered nature of the engine, and so this secondary design had to be scrapped. However, a tertiary design featuring an M-82 Shvetsov engine had been developed in parallel over the course of the latter half of 1940. This engine, another radial much like its contemporaries, provided 1,700 horsepower. Additionally, the smaller diameter of this engine meant that 3 20mm Shvat cannon could be mounted on the plane as armament, with all 3 cannons firing through the propeller and based above the engine. The plane was to see one prototype being developed, and the test flights of this prototype as of May 1941 showed much promise. However, this was very short-lived, as a month later, Operation Barbarossa commenced, and this plane was put on the back foot. Following June 1941, the Politkopov Design Bureau had to be relocated eastwards, and as a result this plane was never to actually enter full-scale production service. Indeed, by the time things picked back up in 1942, the plane was essentially forgotten about. However, all the work that was done on the M82 engine and its integration into this plane was carried forward to the LA5 design, where original iterations of the aircraft were to feature said engine. As a result, the I-185 M82 goes down in history as the promising prototype, which never took off. With that being said, how does the M82 handle in War Thunder? Well, the I-185 M82 is probably the most potent aircraft I've flown at a battle rating of 4.0, simply because this plane has it all, bar one major disadvantage which I'll come on to a little bit later. The setup I'm using in this ground strike gameplay on the map Grave Robbers Cliffs is as follows: stealth ammunition in the 20mm cannon, 500m gun convergence, which is standard for all planes which I use where they have the armament in the nose, and a 30-minute fuel load. The use of stealth ammunition, I will come on to now, is simply because with an all-cannon armament I need to get a lot closer to my targets before I can start scoring decisive hits. If I miss at close range, the stealth ammunition means that my opponent is less likely to spot the ammunition flying by, especially if they're unaware of my presence. Ergo, this means I get the biggest element of surprise possible. The 30-minute fuel load I'll come on to later. We engage a Yakovlev Yak-3 who breaks into a dive, although they soon perform a loop, which I just noticed in time. I perform my own split test in order to dodge their incoming fire, with a friendly Bowfighter Mark 6 chasing the Yak. I level out, and then begin to conduct another loop as the Yak-3 loops up towards me. I loop a little late, and the Yak-3 comes after me, but I'm able to match their maneuverability, dodging all of their incoming fire, and braking around underneath with my much more powerful rudder. However, before I can get a shot on target, a friendly LA5FN takes the Yak-3 out. So, we've depicted in that rather short period that the I-185 M82 is a very manoeuvrable plane. We were able to dogfight with a Yak-3, a manoeuvrable battle rating contemporary. As a result, you've already got one of the major traits on the Yak-3, its overall responsiveness in the rudder, the elevators and the ailerons, and its ability to dodge incoming fire via very quick applications of the rudder. However, what we also had there was a superior roll rate, as inherited from the LA5FN, a roll rate which is almost comparable to a Focke-Wulf 190 A1 or A5. We now switch from turn fighting to energy fighting by boom and zooming on a Messerschmitt 109F. As we dive down, we pick up speed very quickly, and we maintain overall responsiveness even at well over 700 km an hour, with a gradual lock-up occurring at 750 km an hour in terms of our roll rate and our responsiveness in the controls. We forget about the LA5FM because they're trying to dodge us via snap rolling, and following a sequence of unsuccessful bursts on a 109, we get a critical hit on a Kitty Hawk who's flying at a much slower pace than us. We begin to escape from the furball when LA5FN chasing us but unable to make good distance on us, and as we gain on distance we take a small amount of 20mm cannon fire, and at 0.6 km or more we're able to just keep weaving slightly to dodge any incoming 20mm cannon fire. We soon get away from the LA5 enough to break round and underneath them, applying our superior maneuverability which we inherited from our Yak brother. Essentially here it comes down to breaking in behind the LA5FN, because I have the comparable roll rate and the tighter turn circle and the ability to retain energy almost like the equivalent of the LA5FN. Ergo, we soon come around and use our P47D friendly as bait for the LA5 to secure their position and therefore allow us to secure our 4th kill. We then break off and start to build up our energy, and it is here we reflect how we have used all our traits which we have inherited from our 2 battle rating contemporaries to our advantage. We were able to turn inside the LA5FN and apply our more superior maneuverability to overcome them. Indeed, our engine is very powerful, and as a result we were able to eventually pull enough distance on them. We go up against the KI-61 Co, and their short burst lands on our plane, our main fuselage, and sets it to black condition. One more hit and we may have burst into flames. We enter a set of scissors that proceed in the diagonal and take out the KI-61 Co quite cleanly, with their right wing being sheared off by our cannons. We see there that our superior engine power and our comparable roll rate and maneuverability allowed us to match the KI-61 turn for turn and eventually allow us to gain the advantage. As a result, the I-185 is very deadly, and the advantages are quite clear. A brilliant turn circle, although it's not the best, and I should remind you that a Spitfire Mark 9 and indeed any Reisen aircraft, i.e. the Zeros, will easily outturn you. However, you're also able to perform very well in the vertical, and planes such as the LA5FN, the Messerschmitt 109F4, will marvel at your turn circle as you match them pound for pound in terms of the energy area. Additionally, when you are climbing, there will be very few planes which can actually outperform you up to higher altitudes, with later types at higher battle ratings being able to match you, so the Spitfire Mark 9, and additionally the F8F Bearcat, although the Bearcat is one of the only planes which will be able to actually outclimb you. We go into a head-to-head with the Messerschmitt 109F1 here, killing their pilot at roughly a kilometre, and we break underneath their floating wreck with our 6th kill in the bag. It is now that we come on to the problems with the I-185 M-82 and why I have a 30-minute fuel load. While that is standard for all my playstyle to cover the entire time of a battle, pardon me, what is also important to note is that the I-185 M-82 is a very fragile aircraft. Our fuselage is black and we have suffered very little actual cannon fire. Most of it has come from low caliber machine guns, including the Co's 7.7mm machine guns in combination with their 12.7s, and indeed we took a grazing hit from the 20mm of that LA5FN earlier on. A small period of successive hits from cannons will rip this plane to pieces, much like how we killed the pilot of that Kitty Hawk there, and we took out this Yak 7B, achieving our double strike and therefore the 7th and 8th kills respectively. As a result, because of your fragility, you need to be very careful about how you pick your fights. Head-ons are probably the biggest 50-50 gamble this plane can ever experience, because while you have 3 20mm cannons which are absolutely brilliant at shrugging foes in head-ons, at the same time you have to be aware that foes with multiple cannons, such as the Focke-Wulf 190 A5, and indeed planes with massive amounts of 50 cals, such as the P47D Thunderbolt, they've only got to hit you a couple of times to take you out or achieve a massive critical hit on your plane. And so, what is a vice is also a virtue. As depicted here against this A20G Havoc, I'm trying to keep as far away from their rear gunner as possible, in order to avoid any incoming fire from their 12.7s as I proceed to take out their rear gunner and achieve a critical hit. As you can see, I have to be very careful about picking my position in order to hit a foe with quite a deadly rear armament, especially if they've got their gunners fully upgraded. As a result, to offset all the advantages the I-185 has in terms of its climb rate, its maneuverability, and its overall energy retention and performance in the dive, and its armament, which is absolutely devastating for its battle rating, we've got very poor durability, and so you've only got to get hit once or twice, and you're out of the game. Additionally, the wings catch fire very easily to incendiary rounds, and as a result you're going to experience a lot of times where you'll get hit and the plane will catch fire quite quickly, much like that illusion at IL-4 there, and the wing will come off, much like that IL-4 there, as we achieve our double ace. As I keep looking behind me, simply because I'm trying to find out where that Messerschmitt 110 from earlier has gone, although I can never actually find out where they flew off to, and I assume they crashed into the ground. However, I digress. So, what is also important to note about the durability is your durability of maneuverability. A little bit of a headache, but I'll explain. If you get hit in the wings, and I fortunately did not take any significant damage in the wings in this gameplay, the overall handling nature of the I-185 falls to pieces, quite literally. If you get hit in one wing whilst keeping the other wing clear, as pretty much as what happened in this gameplay, the plane will start to heavily list in that direction. Minor damage will not cause this to appear as much, although heavy damage in one wing, whilst the other wing is undamaged, will mean that the plane will lean to one side continuously. And as a result, you've got to be very careful about taking hits, as iterated time and time again, because it will compromise your overall maneuverability and all the advantages you should have. We take out that Focke-Wulf 190A1, which is on a friendly tail, to achieve our 11th and final kill for this gameplay. And we should also note that this plane, as depicted earlier, performs well at high speed as it does at low speed. With the speed range, I would recommend fielding from 250 to 750 km an hour, with a preference on 400 km an hour for the best possible maneuverability. Below 250 km an hour, you'll get the standard sluggishness as in all planes. And with that being said, let's take a look at some post-game stats. Quickly depicting how old this gameplay is, since I was working towards a review in the KO61H at the time, we reflect by noting that our 11 kills and 1 assist netted us 32,057 silver lines. Additionally, we earned 4,288 research points, with all of those going towards our research on the Yak-9P, which was in research at the time. Please remember these are all ×2 figures, due to the first victory of the day for the Russian aircraft. We conclude this review by noting that the I-185 M-82 is an impressive aircraft. It combines all the strengths from the Yak-3 and the LA-5FN, the Soviet battle rating contemporaries at 4.0. These are a brilliant climb rate, brilliant energy retention in a dive and on the level, a good top speed, a decent turn circle, and an absolutely brutal armament. However, to offset this, you have very poor durability, both in terms of your maneuverability when damaged, your overall nature, and your susceptibility to taking damage which will set you on fire in the wings or even knocking out your engine quite quickly. And so, you have to be very careful to use this fragile plane to get behind a foe and put yourself in a position where you can maximise your damage output without taking back any enemy fire if possible. The overall performance of this plane does not let up, whether it be at higher altitudes or lower altitudes, and so I'd recommend sticking between 2,000 and 7,000 metres with an optimum altitude of performance at about 4,000 to 5,000 metres. At 2,000, you're able to dive away if needs be, rather than have to worry about hitting the ground, and all the way up at 7,000 you'll be able to intercept anyone, bomber and fighter alike. Moreover, with speed comes performance as well. Your performance lies in the 250 to 700 km an hour range, with a preference on roughly 400 km an hour. Below 250, your plane will become sluggish in response and actually struggle to rebuild the speed you've lost. Additionally, over 700 km an hour, the control surfaces begin to seize up a little bit and the plane starts to handle sluggishly. By looking at the rest of our team, by comparison with our own performance, we see that we performed exceptionally well, contributing as much as possible to the victory in that game by defending friendly bombers, intercepting an enemy bomber, and then passing through multiple furballs, attacking foes when and where exposed, whilst trying to minimise our overall exposure to enemy fire. And we were quite fortunate to take a black fuselage but not receive any critical damage. Ergo, if you're looking for the perfect prototype, then the I-185 M-82 may be the plane for you. And so I've been TX141, and if you've enjoyed this video, why not leave a like, comment or subscribe for future War Thunder videos on my channel. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care and good luck in the skies!